Today's lecture is the introductory lecture about our course known as Environmental Biology. And as this is the first lecture of this series, so we will be looking at all those terms that we will be studying in this course. So being a student of environmental biology, first of all, we should know what does environment means. This term comes actually from a French word environner or environ, which actually means everything that is surrounding us. It's a sum total of all physical, biological, and cultural elements, influences, and conditions surrounding an organism, including humans at any given point in time. The environment is actually everything that is around us. Like if you're sitting in your homes, whatever is around you is your environment. We can also split this into two types of environment. Like there's one physical environment and also your emotional or psychological environment. Like things that you feel, you sense, or you think and see. So there are some core components in the environment, which include, first of all, the biotic and abiotic factors that, of course, do not sit still. They interact with each other. If we talk in terms of Pakistan, that's the Himalayan glaciers and the megacities, and like Lahore and Islamabad, which are choking due to smoke. So the abiotic here includes monsoon driven rainfall, extreme heat, like in 2015 in Karachi. The heat increased or crossed the levels of 50 degrees Celsius. And the Indus River hydrology. While the biotic factors include the sub-Himalayan dry deciduous forest, Indus Delta mangroves, and the people, about 240 million of us, Pakistani people that live in this country, with whose daily choices ripple through those systems. The interaction is visible. Industrial effluent from Lahore to Faisalabad clusters dumps heavy metal into canals, contaminating soil and crops, while deforestation in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa reduces the rainfall captures and accelerates runoff. If we talk in terms of the globe, there is around 8.3 billion people throughout the globe. And let's look further at the key components or segments of the environment. So the most important one is the atmosphere. In fact, not the most important, but we can say that it's most important in terms of one of the reasons due to which life exists on the earth. Because if it were not the ideal thickness of our atmosphere, life was not possible on this globe, because there are other planets which could sustain life, yet they do not have life. It is because of the thickness of their atmosphere, which is either too thin or too thick. So I hope you all understand what is the importance of thickness of the atmosphere and how does it sustain life. It is actually the atmospheric gases like nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and oxygen that actually captures the heat from the sun. When the sun's rays touches the Earth's surface, around 30 to 40% is absorbed in case of our atmosphere, while rest of them 60 to 70% of these rays are reflected back to the upper atmosphere or in the space. So due to that specific amount of heat that is absorbed is because of those gases in the atmosphere which do not allow the the sun's rays to be reflected back, due to which life is possible, because a good amount of heat or um, an average global temperature is maintained due to our atmosphere, which is actually a protective blanket of gases like nitrogen, oxygen, some trace gases like argon, and carbon dioxide, of course. That and these gases actually filter the harmful solar radiations and support the life. After atmosphere, there is another important component of the environment, which is hydrosphere. As the name is indicating, hydrosphere encompasses all the water resources, whether it's in oceans, in seas, in rivers, lakes, streams, or even the water that is being held in the polar ice caps and the water that is underground water. Um the annual rainfall in Quetta, the annual precipitation is less than 10 inches per annum. This Due to this less amount of annual precipitation, which is 9.6 to 10 inches in Quetta, or in terms of it is 244 to 250 mm in Quetta city, and the wettest period in the country in the city is actually between December and April, and the driest condition is between June to November. Often some snowfall is seen in the winter months of November and December. So due to these things, the groundwater or hydrosphere of our city is much affected, and we can say that there is less groundwater, and we are actually in Quetta city. We are depending a lot on our groundwater resources, because the surface water is in the form of rivers, lakes, or streams is very less in this city. So the next comes lithosphere, which is the outer rocky mantle of the earth, including soil, rocks, and minerals. In terms of if we talk about the Pakistani lithosphere, we have the northern mountains of Himalaya, Karakoram, Hindu Kush, and which also hold the glaciers, our water towers. But mining and road building has destabilized our slopes. In the plains, intensive irrigation and fertilizer overuse degraded our soil, dropping the productivity of our agricultural land. So all these three spheres or important component of the environment are actually important, because they sustain the main sphere, which is actually the biosphere. the realm of living organisms, plants, animals, microbes, and humans, which interact with each other and with the other three important segments. Of course, as I said earlier, nothing sits still. And in terms of Pakistan, we can say that our forest cover is roughly 4.9%, and which might be like, even we have counted the individual trees around the um, urbanized areas. The second highest deforestation rate in Asia is in Pakistan. The billion tree tsunami in KPK showed regeneration possible. The 10 billion tree plan now battles the land mafia in Punjab. Yet sub-Himalayan forests face fieldwood harvest and overgrazing. Also, less than 5% seedling quadrate, pushing species towards local extinction in these regions of the country. So our biosphere is actually facing a lot of extinction rate in the forests. Um, if we talk about the types of environment, um, there can be roughly three types. One is two. The first two types are physical environment, of course, which includes the natural environment or the built man-made environment, and the second one is psychological or emotional environment. So the natural environment is all those areas that are untouched or original conditions, like our forests, mountains, and oceans, and all those infrastructure that has been built by us is the man-made environment, like areas that have been highly modified and for human lives, like in our cities there are, or even in our towns and villages, there are farms, there are houses, there are roads. All these are the man-made environment. The third important part is, of course, the psychological environment, the personal life space and social interactions that shape an individual's personality. As like, if you're sitting in your homes, you must be talking to your family, or when you're sitting with your friends, that is your psychological or your emotional environment. And you decided which is more pleasant for you and which is not pleasant. So this course, environmental biology, has a certain scope to it. It is a broad and multidisciplinary um, field, because in this we study the interaction between humans and their surroundings. And as you know, the human impacts the surroundings drastically. So an important type of study that which is part of environmental biology, which we study in environmental biology, actually is the natural resource management, which is a study of renewable, like water forests and water and forests, and non-renewable resources like minerals, fossil fuels, resources, and their sustainable usage. If we use these resources sustainably, it means that we are um, managing our natural resources. So we include, um, I'm sure many of you or all of you must be knowing what is renewable The renewable resources, in renewable resources, I included water and forests as an example because we can regrow forests once they are deforested. Once, once the trees are being cut, we can regrow them. Even in case of water, when water is used and it becomes the wastewater, we can always recycle, or we can with the wastewater treatment, we can recycle that water again into pure water and we can reuse it. While there are some resources which are entirely non renewable, like the minerals and fossil fuels, like the coal and the natural oil and gas, they are included in the non renewable resources basically because although they can be renewed, but not in the lifetimes of present human generations, because it takes them like thousands of years to um, turn into fossil fuels. Besides, we do not have enough trees on the face of the earth which can be buried into the soil and to the ground to turn to renew these fossil fuels and minerals. Because for them to be renewed, it takes thousands of years, and it is uh, almost impossible to renew them during the lifetimes of our future generations and our lifetimes. So, the other important terms that we study um, in environmental biology, the next one is ecology and biodiversity. As you can see this picture, which is biodiversity. Amongst all the other important aspects of environmental biology core, ecology and biodiversity is one important aspect of this course that you all should understand as a student, because it's very important to know that what are functional interactions between the producers, consumers, and decomposers, and also what is their role in conservation of species. Biodiversity, as you can see, is actually different life forms that exist on the globe or on the earth, whether they're plants or animal or fish, even the microorganisms. You should also know that what are the important causes, impacts of pollution, and how we can manage these issues of air, water, and soil pollution. There are some other aspects to this course that are very important to know, like there are environmental technology, which is development of eco-friendly techniques for waste management and pollution control. Waste management is very, very important because these this issue is really one of the important issues. We will be further discussing it in detail later on, but for now we should know that there are such eco-friendly techniques which can actually control these issues. There are certain environmental policies and law, like implementing legal measures to control these issues for conservation of species. For example, environmental protection acts. All the Not all, but most of the countries across the globe have their environmental protection acts. Pakistan has its own environmental protection act of 1997, and it is the main legislation governing environmental protection in Pakistan. This Protection Act aims to protect, conserve, and improve the environment to prevent pollution and promote sustainable development. This act establishes the Pakistan Environmental Protection Councils, and there are environmental protection agency in different areas of Pakistan. Like we have one in Quetta, um, and there are other environmental protection agencies around across the country, which are responsible for implementing environmental policies and regulation. It includes provision of environmental impact assessment, penalties for non-compliance, and public participation in environmental decision making. The act extends to the whole of Pakistan and came into force at once. For more detail, we will be discussing this later on during the relevant chapters or topics in this course. Environmental education is one important aspect of this course, which is just like the um, developing awareness, skills, and ethical values for a sustainable future. And sustainability basically means to conserve our resources or use them in such a way that we can um, allow our future generations to enjoy these resources in the same way as our past generations or we are enjoying it. So there are certain environmental pressures. Mainly we will be discussing the environmental stresses or pressure caused by human activities or anthropogenic activities. There are certain natural phenomena as well, like the natural catastrophes or disasters that cause changes in the state of the environment. But if we look at it practically, the human activities or anthropogenic activities have a greater magnitude of impact on the environment because earlier there was less awareness among the populations on how to save the environment and about the resources use, and nobody knew that what is sustainable uses of our resources. There are certain key pressures on the environment that we must know, and the order in which they are written over here is basically I consider the rapid population growth or the increase in human population as a cause of all the other pressures like industrialization, urbanization, agriculture growth, and deforestation. All these are actually due to an increase in human population. As you know that around 8.3 billion of human population lives on the globe today, and they reside basically in 3 countries of the world, like first is China, then India, and then USA. They have the huge or the biggest populations as compared to the other countries of the world. So the increased consumption of resources is due to an increase in the human population because of course you would need more resources to cater to the greater number of people. Like they would need more if you were earlier using one electricity bulb, light bulb for example, now you would need more and more of these to cater to, like if there are three people in a house, they would be of course using more water, more electricity, more gas. So the population growth causes increased consumption of resources. It also increases the waste generation. It's very easy to understand. Like if one of you is using a like let me give it a common example. Like if one of you is sitting and eating a paratha roll, there will be just one wrapper. But if three of you are sitting over there, there will be three wrappers. So it increases the waste generation, creating immense pressure on land and water. Industrialization is again a pressure that is man-made because this industrial revolution was thought to be very positive earlier, but it is actually increasing the release of pollutants in our air, water, and land resources, and leading to toxic waste accumulation in these resources. Urbanization is definitely um, an issue of livelihood or lifestyle of human beings, because more people used to live in villages earlier or in towns earlier. But even in countries like Pakistan, now there's a shift in lifestyle, and most of the people like to live in the cities. And this rapid expansion of cities is leading to to more waste disposal issues and slum formation. Slums are basically those areas which are not legally approved, for let's say that Quetta Development Authority has certain approved areas of residential areas, we can say, and some others are not approved. These slums, which are not approved residential areas, has more issues because there is less proper management of their waste, no sewage system, and so they are more responsible for destruction of natural habitats in these areas. Then again, to feed more human mouths, we need more food, due to which agricultural activity happen to be growing more in as a green revolution, and we need more land is now under agriculture, and this is causing overuse of chemical fertilizers and pesticides because we need more food, so we use more fertilizer, more pesticides, which is causing issues like nutrient deficiency, water pollution, and soil salinity. Deforestation is an issue or pressure which is linked with the others discussed earlier, mainly because of human population growth. We need more agricultural land, so more trees are being cut to convert it into agricultural land. And this destruction of forest cover for fuel purposes, for timber, and for agriculture is leading to loss of biodiversity and also causing soil erosion. Because if there are no trees to hold the soil, the soil definitely can be easily eroded by water or air. Energy consumption has also increased due to human activities. Now there's a heavy reliance on fossil fuels, which is leading to global warming and climate change. Um Global warming is basically a phenomena of an increase in of thickness of our atmosphere. In the start of this lecture, I discussed how the life on Earth is sustained due to ideal thickness of our atmosphere, which is a blanket of gases. And this blanket of gases are increasing in thickness due to industrialization, even due to agricultural activities, or even due to more households. More gases are being released into the atmosphere, which is increasing the thickness of our atmosphere, and as a result, more heat by the sun rays is being captured, and it cannot escape back into the atmosphere because of the increasing thickness of our atmospheric blanket, which is leading to global warming and causing climate change in different regions of um, of the world. And although global warming is a global phenomenon, which means that there is an increase in the global average temperatures, and climate change is more regional phenomena, like it varies from city to city, from region to region, and like the problems or climate change issues in Quetta will be different from climate change issues in Lahore, let's say, because climate change is basically a change in the uh, climate patterns of an area. Like if the rain was less in some area, it can become extremely less, or it can increase, like more precipitation, or in some cases there's a shift in the weather patterns, like if summer was starting in June, the summer may start in April instead. So these are some examples of climate change in a region. As a consequence of these pressures, we are facing these issues listed in here, like the pollution, which is contamination of the atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere. Then degradation of land, like soil erosion and reduction in the agricultural potential. Also, a depletion of ozone layer. Ozone is a form of oxygen in the form of O3. Now, this ozone layer is being destroyed by very reactive man-made chemicals known as chlorofluorocarbons, which are used in the refrigerators as refrigerants or in the aerosol sprays. When these are released into the atmosphere, they can actually react with the O3 form of oxygen and convert into the molecular oxygen form, so causing a destruction of the ozone layer, which is a protective layer of O3 gas, which can protect the earth by the damaging UV rays. But when there is this layer is destroyed, more UV reaches to the Earth's surface, causing more global warming and other issues. Loss of biodiversity is another issue caused as a consequence of these pressures, actually, because when there is extinction of plants and animal species due to the destruction of their habitat. Water scarcity is basically an issue that most countries might be experiencing in the coming days or years. But our city, Quetta, is already experiencing water scarcity because we are already relying on the groundwater, as there is less surface water, less precipitation. As I told you earlier, that we are only receiving 10 inches on average of rainfall per year, which is not sufficient to recharge our water resources or our groundwaters, which is very, very alarming actually. So again, climate change and global warming is also a consequence of these pressures, and also the issues that are caused by these two phenomena. To overcome all these pressures and their consequences, there is a need for environmental awareness to foster a value system, to respect our nature, to adopt sustainable development, means to meet present generations' needs without compromising the future generations' needs, which is a general idea of sustainable development. But there are some, although there are some exceptions to this general idea, but we need to promote public participation in protecting our planet. And as a student of environmental biology, this is responsibility of you all to raise awareness amongst your siblings, your parents, your communities, your friends. And you should go and tell everybody that what are the consequences if we did not respect our natural resources, and if we did not respect the nature, how it can damage us. So that's all for this lecture. We'll be continuing our meeting in the next lectures or in the upcoming lectures, and we will be discussing actually all of these issues in further details. Bye for today. Also, I'm open to any questions if you have any issues with the language, or otherwise also you can post some questions that arise in your mind. So thank you so much.